Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. First off, I want to actually thank you for your feedback and putting this together. Obviously, we're here today to help answer some of your top questions and concerns around having an employees and how to manage that here in 2021, given COVID and the pandemic. So today I'm actually going to be interviewing an attorney from CDF, one of California's leading labor and employment law firms. They have 5 offices across California. So Ashley Lopez-Tello, she actually specializes in equal employment opportunity litigation and workplace investigation. So Ashley, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, Paolo. I'm excited.
Of course. When we sent out the survey, we asked a bunch of questions and had people rank what was really most concerning to them. And what was the highest ranked is what are the issues emerging litigation areas in 2021 stemming from the pandemic?
Yeah, so, I guess the short answer here, Paolo, is that there has been a lot of increasing litigation due to the pandemic. And California is far and away kind of the leader in this litigation. Since March 1st, 2020, in the US, there's been 1,250 lawsuits filed that are specifically related to COVID-19. And California is the leader here with 270 lawsuits filed. They kind of beat out every state. New Jersey's at a distant second. Wow. At 130, but really here in California, we're seeing a ton of new litigation related to COVID-19.
Wow. So based on what you're seeing, what has been the most common or most impactful to employers?
Yeah, so we've been seeing a lot of disability discrimination, harassment, and retaliation claims. Kind of the most common thing is employees who are scared. They're fearful of COVID, they're scared to come to work, and employers are dealing with this delicate balance between being sensitive to their employees and also having to run their business and needing people there to do it.
Right.
And so the fear of COVID is actually right now, it potentially can be a disability that employers need to accommodate. And I kind of always say, when in doubt, let your employees work from home if they can. If they can't, then consider putting them on an unpaid leave of absence versus just, terminating them.
Right.
Another big area has been wage and hour lawsuits. So a lot of employers are screening their employees. They're taking their temperatures before they come into work. And that time that they're waiting in line, they have to be paid for that time, which a lot of employers kind of don't realize.
Right.
And if they show up and they have a temperature that's too high, so you're sending them home, they have to be paid show up pay. So a lot of employers are kind of, forgetting about that.
Wow. So what are maybe some other areas that employers wouldn't think about that could be potentially hurting them from a lawsuit perspective?
Yeah, so I think obviously the disability, the wage and hour claims, I would say another area has kind of been retaliation lawsuits. So you have a lot of employees who are going to HR and they're saying, hey, we don't have the personal protective equipment that we need, masks, gloves, sanitizer, etc. And then shortly after that, maybe employers are unfairly disciplining their employees, terminating them. And so employees are filing lawsuits for retaliation. They're saying, hey, we complained that we didn't have proper masks and stuff that we need. And then all of a sudden, we get retaliated against or we get fired.
Right.
So that's kind of another area that employers really need to be aware of and be careful of, really.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. So Ashley, what size companies or specific industries are you seeing be impacted the most right now?
Yeah, so COVID-19 does not discriminate. It's hitting every industry, large employers, small employers with less than 50 employees. Paolo, it really doesn't matter. And I think a lot of employers feel like, oh, these lawsuits are far-fetched. My employees wouldn't do this to me. I'm not going to get hit with this. Right. But I want employers to know that, plaintiffs' attorneys take these cases on a contingency basis, meaning that the employees don't have to put up a penny, and the employers don't recover unless their employees do, which gives them a lot of motivation to be pretty aggressive.
Wow.
And you know, these attorneys are really waiting in the wing to jump on this COVID litigation.
Scary. So stay prepared.
Stay prepared, absolutely. Yes, you couldn't have said it better.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic that most employers had questions on. And now that the vaccine is out, people are wondering, what are the options and considerations around the vaccine? Can they have employees be required to take it? What if employees don't want to take it? What should employers be thinking about now with the vaccine?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, on December 16th, 2020, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission kind of issued some updated guidance on the vaccine, specifically related to this issue, basically whether employers can mandate their employees to take the vaccine. And kind of the first thing that was mentioned is that, the vaccine went through it's right now it's under an emergency use authorization process, opposed to kind of the normal approval process under the FDA. So basically what that means is that when somebody goes to take the vaccine, the healthcare providers are required to tell them about the risks associated with taking the vaccine, and then the person can determine whether they want to decline it or whether they want to take it.
Okay.
So right now it's really unclear how an employer would be able to mandate an employee to take a vaccine when it's an emergency use authorization. It's under an emergency use authorization process right now.
Right. So Ashley, what about in certain situations where an employee cannot receive the vaccine?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is definitely something that we're seeing come up, either in terms of an employee who has a disability or some sort of pre-existing condition that prevents them from being able to get the vaccine, or employees who hold, sincerely held religious beliefs that prevent them from, being willing to get the vaccine. And when this is the case, the EEOC has basically said that employers are likely going to have to make exemptions, and they're going to have to engage in this sort of muddied analysis of whether, the employee not getting the vaccine, the threat of that is greater than, keeping the employee employed, right? And they should kind of engage, employers should engage in this sort of interactive process, accommodations process, and see, can we split this employee up? Can we put them in their own office? Can we allow them to work from home? That way they're not just kind of jumping the gun and thinking, okay, we're gonna terminate this employee.
Right. All right, Ashley, thank you so much for all the great information so far. We've got one final topic and that a lot of employers have questions on, and it's just, what are the different policies and procedures that they should be aware of that they might not have considered with COVID right now?
Yeah, so the biggest one is the COVID-19 response plan. And in case any of the employers don't know what that is, it's basically your COVID-19 response plan is your guidebook as to if an employee reports that they've tested positive or they report that they've been exposed, how do you deal with it? What's your game plan? What are the next steps that you need to take? And so on November 30th, 2020, Cal OSHA issued some emergency regulations specifically related to this and kind of steps that employers need to take in the workplace to keep people safe. So employers do need a COVID-19 response plan. If there's a COVID outbreak in your company, you don't want Cal OSHA to come calling and your employees to say, what's a COVID-19 response plan? I've never heard of that. I've never seen one. That's going to create a lot of liability. You want your employees to be able to check the box and say, yes, I've seen it, I've read it, I've been trained on it.
Got it.
And really, you should be employers should be designating a COVID-19 response person at any location they have if they're a multi-site business. And that designated person should be well-versed on the COVID-19 response plan and should be really implementing, as much of it as they can.
Got it. So it sounds like this is something that's required and not optional for employees.
Right. Yes. So that's huge for employers to understand. This is not maybe sort of, I'll think about it, you know, this is something that employers have to have in place to avoid liability. And actually, you know, my firm has prepared a COVID-19 response plan template. If you shoot me an email, I'm happy to send that to you free of charge. It might require some minimal modifications just to make it specific to your business, but I'm, you know, more than happy to shoot that out or answer any questions.
Great. So Ashley, let's say that an employer does decide they want to require all of their employees to take the vaccine. What is their responsibility to the employees from a cost perspective or, you know, process perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So if employers require, if they mandate their employees to get the vaccine, they need to know that they need to likely compensate them for whatever cost they have to pay to get the vaccine. And then they also need to compensate them for whatever time they're taking to go get it, waiting at the hospital or, what have you.
Got it. Okay. Good thing to know.
Yes.
Well, Ashley, again, thank you so much for your time today. You've provided just an overall wealth of information that I know a lot of people will appreciate. And thank you for everybody who is watching and listening today. We are going to provide Ashley's information, so you'll have access to that. If you do have any questions, obviously everybody's situation is different, so it's best to consult a specialist and somebody who can understand your situation better before making any decisions. So again, Ashley, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate the information, and thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. I was excited to be here.
Thanks.